Chapter 6. Super Loyal. The lacrosse field resounded with the roar of the crowd, the referee's whistles, and the shouts of the players. I was really doing it, cheerleading. It was the greatest experience of my life. There could be no more amazing sport than lacrosse, which combined all the best elements of the other sports. The ball was baseball-ish, the pads were football-ish, the nets were hockey-ish, the cleats were soccer-ish, the shorts were basketball-ish, and the sticks were kind of like butterfly net-ish because they had little webbed pouches for passing and catching. With all it had to offer, I couldn't understand why lacrosse wasn't the national pastime. On YouTube, which was normally so sensible, there were far fewer lacrosse videos than those inferior sports. I guess even YouTube could fall short every once in a while. The only thing better than lacrosse was cheerleading for it. I only got injured once, when the integrity of my cartwheel disintegrated. As I collapsed, my foot slammed into something hard, and I experienced sharp pains in 3 to 5 metatarsals. That's an interesting word. But I carried on bravely. The loud ow came not from me, but from Vanessa McClare, whose face turned out to be something hard I'd injured my metatarsals on. "Will you get a clue?" Megan yelled at me. As head cheerleader, it was her job to provide helpful coaching while the game was going on. There was this YouTube video called Playing Through Pain that inspired me to ignore my throbbing foot and cheer louder, even when my throat began to hurt worse than my toes. In the world of sports, this was known as giving it 110%, although that was mathematically impossible. When the clock ran out, I jumped for joy, throwing my pom-poms in the air, although they didn't go very high. Megan, our captain, turned furious eyes on me. "Shut up, everyone will think we're nuts." I was mystified. "We're cheerleaders. It's our job to lead the cheers for a glorious victory." "We didn't have a glorious victory. Can you read a scoreboard?" "Indeed I can," I replied. "When your team scores a plurality of goals, you win. Arithmetic dictates that 15 is greater than 3. Therefore, we are the winners." I almost added quod eta demonstratium, but I remembered at the last minute that Latin wasn't too popular in the cheerleading business. Megan's face was a thundercloud. "Only we didn't have the 15, we had 3. But it says H for Hornets." The look she gave me would have melted steel. H is for home, not Hornets. We're the visitors' Noah, the V number. Obviously, there was more to cheerleading than I'd previously thought. It certainly explained why the girls had seemed so subdued on the sidelines. On the bus back to school, I apologized to my fellow cheerleaders. "I'm researching this whole home visitors thing. I'll get it right next time." "Next time," repeated Vanessa, holding the ice pack to her cheek. The only other boy on the bus was Taggart, with his arm in a sling. He couldn't play today, so he didn't have to stick around for Coach Franco's post-game session. For some reason, he told everybody that his injury came from getting his arm caught in a car door. "No, it didn't," I told him. "You were bitten by a dog." "It was a car door," he said between clenched teeth. "It was Beatrice. Don't you remember? She attacked you for punching Dominic Curtis." "Curtis!" Practically spit. "This is all his fault. I'm going to get back at that guy if it's the last thing I do." People always say that at the academy. It was too much harder than Hardcastle Middle School. But this was a perfect illustration of why they were wrong. This situation couldn't be solved like an equation. It required a higher level of analysis, social analysis. Number 1, wasn't threatening me at all. He liked me. Everybody did. But number 2, I owed it to Donovan to warn him that the captain of the lacrosse team had it out for him. Because 3, when you had friends, you had to be loyal to them, even if it wasn't your problem. Thus 4, what I said to Donovan at school the next morning. "is going to get even with you," I told him. "I don't think you have to worry about it right away, though." He said it's going to be the last thing he does. Donovan sighed. "Yeah, I kind of figured what happened at the park wasn't over yet, especially when I heard that he might be out for a whole lacrosse season." "What are you going to do?" I asked. I shrugged. I steer clear of the guy. He's just a bully. Not much else I can do. I once saw a YouTube video called Stand Up to Bullies. He shook his head. Not an option. Hashtag's parents have pictures of the bite marks on his arm, and Mrs. Taggart pretty much threatened to report Beatrice to animal control. If there's another scrape between Hashtag and me, you can take that to the bank. I could see it was a real dilemma for poor Donovan. He was being wronged, but he couldn't take action to the right with that wrong without putting Beatrice's life in danger. Then something strange happened. When I solved an impossible math problem, or came up with a flawless argument for an English essay, or explained an abnormality in a chemistry experiment, it was always the easiest, most natural thing in the world, like flicking a bug off your arm. This was different. When I came up with the solution, it was completely unexpected, a sudden surprise over a mountain range, a brainstorm. "I'll do it for you," I exclaimed. "Do what for me?" he asked. "You can't stand up to Hashtag because of Beatrice," I exclaimed breathlessly, "but I can." Donovan laughed in my face. "Don't be crazy. He'll kill you." "He would today," I agreed. "That's why it's a good thing I have plenty of time. I intend to use my time wisely." His eyes narrowed. "Wisely how?" "The key to any confrontation is having the best strategy." "No," he told me. "The key is a hand right to the head." He rubbed his jaw, which was still a little bruised. Hashtag has it. I'm living proof. You don't want to join the club. "When the time comes," I promised, I'll be ready. "I'll tell Hashtag that he better not be mean to my friend Donovan. It'll just be like stand up to bullies." He grabbed my arm. "Cut it out, Noah. This kid could do a lot of damage without even meaning to hurt you. Promise me you'll stay away from him?" I could tell he was 100% serious. He wasn't going to let me go until I gave him my word. "I promise," I lied. Lying was another excellent skill I picked up since coming to Hashtag Middle. There hadn't been much call for it at the academy, but here you could make sense of it dozens of times a day. For example, when somebody confronted you with, "Hey dude, are you looking at me?" it was generally better to say no. Or in this case, where I lied because I didn't want Donovan to worry about me, I'd be fine. Before confronting Hashtag, I would learn the art of self-defense from the greatest gladiators in the world that I'd ever known, WWE wrestlers. And I knew exactly where to find them. In the same place, all the true secrets of humanity are just waiting to be accessed. YouTube. My YouTube search for keyword WWE yielded over 3 million hits. With an average length of over 4 minutes per video, I obviously wouldn't be able to watch them all. But I was able to see enough to learn how to handle myself if things got ugly with Hashtag. The average wrestler was 6'4" and 250 pounds. I wasn't going to be able to bulk up that level on such short notice. So I zeroed in on the concepts that applied to everybody: speed, explosiveness, focus, muscle power, and the element of surprise. There were important moves to be mastered: choke slams, pile drivers, sleeper holds, spine busters, clotheslines, and frog splashes. Also, it never hurt to have a steel folding chair handy, just in case you had to break it over somebody's head. Every day at cheerleading practice, I rushed home and spent hours in front of the computer, drinking it all in. At night, when I was supposed to be sleeping, I practiced against my pillow. Once, while taking out the garbage, I powerbombed a green bag. It exploded, sending chicken bones and orange peels all over the lawn. My mother said our property smelled like the town dump, but to me it smelled like victory. And anyway, she helped me clean it up. So it only cost me 45 minutes of YouTube research. I remembered the best part to make my move on Hashtag. School had its advantages. For one thing, there was always a lot of chairs around, but also a lot of people. Too many, in fact. No, this had to happen somewhere more private. I didn't know where he lived, but there was no problems. I hacked into the school computer and got his address: 42 Saunton Street, about half a mile away from my house. I calculated that the optimal time would be early Saturday morning, around 7 a.m., when most people would still be in bed. Once my plan was set, keeping my excitement to myself was almost more than I could bear. I was dying to tell someone about it, but the only person I could think of was Donovan, and the whole season on the line was for him to be kept in the dark. I woke up at 5:30 that morning. with great singleness of purpose. I had my outfit all set. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my Speedo, so I substituted long underwear from when I was 8. Super tight, very WWE. Up top, I wore a sweatshirt that I'd carefully cut open with a pair of scissors, so it was only closed by a few threads. It took hours, but it was totally worth it. Hashtag, if hashtag got physical, I could tear it off in a heartbeat, just like the real superstars did. Since I had no wrestling gloves, I substituted the gloves Mom weeded for the garden. I tried to cut off the fingertips, but the fabric was really thick. On my feet, I wore patent leather dress shoes, but I blackened the bottoms of my long underwear with spray paint, so it would look like boots. It was ready by 5:45, so I had to cool in my heels for a while. If I got there too early, hashtag might still be in bed, and maybe his parents wouldn't want to disturb him. At 6:45, Mom and Dad were sleeping, and I tiptoed downstairs and eased myself outside, careful not to bang the folding chair under my arm against the storm door. Jackpot. The neighborhood was deserted. No kids outside playing. No parents around. All the way from my house to Staunton Street, the only sign of life was a single car. It drove past me, screeched to a halt, and backed up. The rear door opened, and one of those kids named Daniel jumped out. I never could tell the two of them apart. "Noah, is that you?" he demanded. "Why are you dressed like that?" "I could ask you the same question," I muttered. He was in a suit and tie. He had no chair, obviously, unless the seats under the car counted. "We're on our way to my cousin's bar mitzvah," he explained. "Where are you going so early? And what's with the folding chair?" I hesitated. This was supposed to be top secret. "I'm a morning person," I told him. "I'm just taking a walk. The chair's in case I get tired." "Don't give me that. What are you up to?" "Nothing," I said casually, but he didn't seem convinced. "Come on, Daniel," came a woman's voice from the car. "We're going to be late." "Yeah, Mom, but remember when I told you about that kid?" "Now!" It definitely wasn't a suggestion. He got back in the car. Even as they drove away, I could see him, face pressed against the window, staring at me. They disappeared down the road, turning down the highway. I breathed a sigh of relief. My plan was still on.